So in this lesson, I'm going to show you very briefly how I want your play scripts formatted in Ms. Street's class. This format is loosely based on the format template provided by the Dramatists Guild of America to a program known as Final Draft. If you study screenwriting or script writing of any variety in college, odds are good somebody's going to recommend that you download Final Draft. But for our purposes, we're going to steal the major components of that format and we're going to use an application like Microsoft Word or Google Docs to format our scripts. So you're going to open Microsoft Word, and I'm using the desktop application. I just like it better than the online application, but you can use the online application as well. And I'm going to open a blank document. The first thing that I'm going to do is find where to justify my cursor. My cursor is the little thing that is blinking right in the top left corner of the blank page here. So I'm going to go to my home button. And right here where my mouse is, these buttons are your justification buttons. So if you hover over, it'll say align left on that first button. You can also use the command keys Control plus L at the same time if you want to use the keyboard shortcut instead of having to move your mouse up and click that button every single time. I personally prefer using keyboard shortcuts, but you do you. Not going to hurt you either way. So left justified means that the cursor is going to be exactly where it currently is on the page. If you center justify by hitting that second button or Control and the letter E at the same time, then the cursor is going to start in the middle of the page. And finally, if you right justify something by hitting either that button or Control plus the R button at the same time, then your cursor is going to move all the way over to the right side of the page. We are going to begin with our centered cursor. So I'm going to hit the center button and my cursor is right there in the middle. You also need to know how to change your font style and your font size. In the Home button, the first drop-down menu that you will come to will let you select a different font than the one that is automatically selected when you open Word. For our purposes, you are going to use Courier or Courier New, whichever one happens to be loaded in your particular version of the application. You can use the drop-down menu by clicking the little arrow and scrolling down until you find it, or you can click and highlight and then type in and it'll automatically fill in what you need. So if you just highlight and type in COU, then whichever version, Courier or Courier New, will automatically populate in that field and you can just select it. You also are going to need to change your font size. So again, you can select a number from the drop-down menu or you can highlight and type it in. We're going to be working in 12-point font. So for our plays, you're going to use Courier or Courier New and 12-point font. Now, we're starting in the center of the page. I need to give my play a name, so I'm going to call it The Great Escape. So your title is going to be capitalized and in the center of the page. Then you are going to put the author's names directly underneath it in regular casing. So you're going to use capital letters at the beginning of the word and lowercase letters for the rest of the word. So this is going to be by, and let's pretend that there are 3 people in my group. So let's say this is by Miss Street and Mr. Black and Miss Avery. Good. So now I've got my title, I've got my author's names. Now I'm going to skip a space and give a scene heading. So right here in the center, I'm going to say in all capital letters, Scene 1. If at any time you change scenes, then you're going to need to put another scene heading with a new scene number. Then I'm going to hit the Enter button. This next part confuses people, but it really shouldn't. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up to my Home tab and I'm going to select the left Justify button. I could also hit Control L to do this to move my cursor over to the side. We always open with stage directions that tell our reader what the scene is going to look like once this is on the stage. Okay, so we are going to italicize our stage directions So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select underneath my font. There are 3 buttons that let me add some basic styling to my text. So I'm going to select the I for italic. I can also hit Control and the letter I to do this. So when I do this, my cursor will slant forward. So we always begin with the word lights up. I'm going to set this on an empty street. Lights up on an empty street. An alarm sounds and we see George rush onto the stage. That's going to be my opening stage direction. Now, stage directions are formatted a little bit weirdly, so watch carefully. To format this appropriately, I'm going to highlight my stage direction. Then, I'm going to go up to the ruler right at the top of the screen, and I'm going to click on the little square where my mouse is right now. There's an upside down triangle. There's a right side up triangle, and then there's a square. We want to click on the square, and we're going to hold that click as we drag everything over until we line up with the number 3 right in the middle. What that does is it keeps my text left justified, but it indents it all the way over so that my stage directions only take up half the page. Now it's time for our characters to start saying some things. So I'm going to give my character George a line. So what I'm going to do first is I'm skipping a space and starting a new line. I'm going to move my cursor back over. And then I'm going to center and take away the italics. Character names go in the center and they get all caps. So my character's name is George. Then I'm going to hit the enter button. Do not skip a space here. It needs to be directly underneath. And now I'm going to left justify for the dialogue. I'm going to give him a line. He's going to say, "Help, they're after me." I need to bring on another character to give George somebody to talk to, so I'm going to add another stage direction. I'm going to skip a line, and I'm going to say that Sarah steps out of her house onto the street. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to italicize it, and then I'm going to drag all of that over to line up with the number 3. And then I'm going to add some lines for Sarah. Remember, do not skip lines between the person's name and the words that they say. Sarah's going to say, "Aren't you that escaped criminal? I'm not helping you. You'll probably rob me." This is some excellent, Oscar-worthy writing here. And that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Anytime your characters are doing something but not saying anything, then that's a stage direction, and that gets formatted like the text that I've got highlighted here. Your characters' names go in the center, and they're in all capital letters. Anything they say is going to start on the left side of the page, be left justified, and it'll continue all the way across without any kind of indentation or anything like that, like Sarah's line here. And that's how you're going to format any plays that you write for Miss Street's class. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. Otherwise, you are ready to get to work.